Well, hello and welcome to our home workshop. Today we are going to be building a stand for our book folding project. So today we're going to use this bit of ply. As you can see, it's quite thick, it's got some nice layers in it, it's decent enough quality, it's 18mm deep. And we're going to use that to build a base for our book, so that it's something like that. Okay, I'm going to try and do a lot of it on the table saw today, but we need to work out what angle we need to cut that book, because if you look down you kind of see the pages, this angle here. We need to work out roughly what that is, so we're going to use an angle finder for that. So if we lay our book on the side and just put our angle finder against that, hopefully you can see that. Now that's saying it's about 45, however if you look at the word it's a bit squashed. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that 60 to bring that out to about there, and that should give us a really nice stand for our book. Right, so I'm just going to sketch out what I'm after. So we've got our book that looks a little bit like that, and those are the sort of cuts that we're going to make on the table saw. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a table saw as well to make the stand. It's got a slight arc to it as well, from that perspective, so something like that. And we're going to round the front edge. So if we were to look at that from this direction, it would look something like that. We're just going to use a router and a round over bit to get that. So yeah, let's get cracking. Right, so we're just going to lay this wood out just very quickly. So the wood length is just under 300. I know we're not going to use it all, so we'll just mark an arbitrary centre line. What we're going to do is we're going to use a speed square to set this out. You can see it's got degrees here at the bottom. Now I know I want each angle, so each angle here, and well, the angle between those two lines to be 60 degrees, and we need to make 2 cuts. So if we put the pivot point on there, and then we'll move this line down until that 30 mark matches up with there, and that should give us 30 degrees there. Doesn't look very big, but we'll see. Now 30 degrees there. I need to extend these lines out a little bit. We need to decide where we want our book on those lines. Oh, it's difficult to show this. And you can see we've got our book on our angle there. And it still looks a bit squashed. You agree? Right, so as our book looked a bit squashed on 30, we'll make these lines a bit bigger. So maybe we'll go to 35. Right, so something like that. Just going to line our book up with those lines. Which is easier said than done. Right, that looks about right. Just going to bring you down for a bit of a view. So that looks alright, doesn't it? That gives us all of the word, you can see it. Still need to glue these pages back a little bit, so it'll look a little bit more like that. Get rid of these outer pages. So that's our book on each line on each side, and that 35 degrees on each side looks really good. So I think we'll use that. We'll carry on laying this out. So what I'm going to do now, whilst I've got the book there, just going to set its dimensions so I know roughly where it is. And just on the back, if you can see, let's get these out of the way. Just on the back, I'm just going to draw around that quickly, just as a rough idea. That's one side for a minute. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use a table saw to cut down that line. Okay, but what I want to do is give it a bit of a border on each side. So what we'll do is just draw a border on each side, so we'll call that probably 10mm. So let's just do 10mm either side of that centre line. We'll use our speed square to get our angles again. Right, so let's just scribe the bits we don't want so we don't get confused. Clearly mark the outer lines and the outer bit. Now we need to draw our radius, but we'll give that another 10mm each way again. We'll cut all this later though. So. Right, brilliant. So let's start cutting. So we're just going to set up the mitre to cut these. Right, so we need to make a cut that's broadly like that. So let's set that up to 35, like we said. Make sure the mitre slides all the way through. Let's just get on some safety gear quickly. So I've just set the mitre to 20 because I want to cut this other angle. Just cut this angle at 35 degrees, so therefore my overall angle will be 70. The mitre travels 90 degrees to the saw, so therefore it's just 90 minus 70 equals 20, so that should give me my other side. So as you can see, I've not done it perfectly. It doesn't really need to be perfect. So what I'm gonna do now is just come in 10mm off the edge of this and cut a really fine line with the table saw. So I'm just going to set the fence up to 10mm. What we're going to do is we're going to use this little bit of scrap that we've just cut off just to make sure we're at the right height. So as you can hopefully see there, we've got our line in there now. You can see all the way down. And that should fit our booking. Let's see if our book fits a bit better. There we go. So we're about halfway through the wood there, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'll move those lines onto here now. So that's got us both our lines. Let's see how it fits. Right, so our book fits really nicely in there. So we're starting, as it falls out, because we've not got the back bit cut in at the moment. It's just resting on the pages. So what we'll do is we'll just cut the back bit in. Let me just show you that. And all I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to cut that off because of the bookshelf that it's on is quite thin. So I don't really want any wood hanging over the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a cut to with a mitre to square off that back end. So we're just going to make a mark where it is and then take it to the table saw. So we've just cut our back end off. That should give us the ability to put our Bible all the way in. Because our book's got this space at the back, and you see it's we can hold on to it much deeper here. But here we need to shave a little bit of that out so that we can get a good support around the base of the book. So what I'm going to do on the wood is I'm just going to cut this section out. Woohoo! Smoky! That looks good. So we've got a nice kind of recess now. Kind of eats in on the wood a little bit. Right, so should we see if our book fits? Right, so that actually fits really well. As you can see, our edges are right in there now, and our back is seated really well on the back. Hopefully you can see that. That's really good. Right, so what we need to do now is do our radius. So we need to draw our circle along here, or our section of a circle along here, and I think we are going to do that with a router. Right, so I couldn't really find any way to clamp it, so I've just put a screw in each corner, and I've also got just a spacer which is the same thickness as this, and just a stick. Okay, doesn't really matter what that radius is, what the size of the circle is, as long as we hit each point. So I'm just going to use the router like this. I'm just going to butt it up to the end of the piece of wood and then use that to cut my radius. So we'll just cut through the rest of that with a Stanley knife and then clean it up when we sand. That gets us to there. Now to the sanding. Alright, so that gets us quite a nice piece. I think we'll leave the round over because I think it might look weird. So we'll leave rounding over the front edge. I'm just going to clean this up very quickly with a Dremel, just to take away this darker layer of plywood and take us down to the lighter wood so it kind of matches and doesn't look out of place. That should work a treat. Right, quick coat of poly and job is good. So I'm just going to give it a quick coat of poly with a cloth. You can see the difference, but just to keep it protected, make it shine just a little bit. Right, we'll clamp that in vise, just let it dry, we'll give that a couple more coats. Well, so here it is, the final thing, the completed work. Are you ready for the reveal? Doesn't that look good? Taking those pages out front and back has really brought some contrast to the letters. It looks really, really good. especially on that base as well, that's actually quite close to the paper colour, which I didn't realise. Right, so I think that's it from me today. If you like what you see, then please click a like. If you want to see more, then please consider subscribing. I hope you have a great day. See ya.